We have song sheets. We've got 3 song sheets tonight. We bring a contemporary flair, so as you're walking in, if you don't have 3 song sheets, you're missing 2. We have 3 song sheets that we bring into the service tonight. 3 contemporary song sheets that we add to the traditional prayers. We have 3 song sheets, 3 different song sheets. We have 3 different song sheets. We are beginning. Good evening. We are beginning. Help yourselves. We have 3 song sheets. Good evening. We are starting in the Siddur. We'll begin in the Siddur. We start this evening with the Shalom Aleichem in the Siddur. Please find a Siddur, hand a Siddur to someone else. One more Siddur, just in case. We are starting. Let's make sure we have Siddurim for those sitting in the front. Hello, good to see you. So much hello. We're beginning this evening with the Shalom Aleichem. It's in the Siddur on page number 5. And there are those joining in from home. So just a reminder, as we turn to page number 5 for Shalom Aleichem, I mentioned this to one of our students the other day and had an impact. When we're singing Shalom Aleichem, we're serenading angels. Just let that set inside you for a moment, that we're serenading angels. And as a result of singing to these angels, they now have an additional boost, such that they are going to another home, another community, another visit, another synagogue, another location. So your voice in song has impact on a spiritual realm. Page 5. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu L'Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem l'shalom Malachei HaShalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. On page number 11 in the Siddur, page 11, this is a psalm taken from the Bible and placed here at the beginning of the service as an impetus. The phrase is L'chun Rana, which means, come on, folks, let's all sing together. L'chun Ranana l'Adonai, Nariya Litzur Yishenu, Nikadma Fana Bitoda, Bizmirot Nariya Lo, Nikadma Fana Bitoda, Bizmirot Nariya Lo, Kiel Gadol Adonai, Umelech Gadol Al Kol Elohim, Asher Biado Mechkerei Aretz V'toafot Harim Lo, Asher Biado Mechkerei Aretz V'toafot Harim Lo. And the next few pages are Psalms with a different a continuing theme, and it moves and it flows, but one of the elements of the theme is singing together. And look at page 16 on the English side, because I wish to point this out. It's kind of a continuation, and then it moves in a different direction. It's on page 16. Page 16 on the English side, and again, the general theme for these past 3-4 pages has been singing together, but look at page 16 on the top of the page on the English side. Worshippers of idols, be shamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme, bow before God. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine. And this is the continuation. This emerges as opposed to talking about singing only. Look at this element. This is almost like an exclamation point from the book of Psalms. Those who love together, those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful, which means that loving God is equated to hating evil. Loving God is equated to hating evil. That's what we have to remember. And we've been singing, and this is, in a way, kind of a crescendo. Next stanza. Light is sown for the righteous, and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. Light is sown for the righteous. It's an agricultural term in the Hebrew and translated here in the English, which means that God is literally sowing light in the world because of you and me, but only when you and I achieve righteousness. When you and I achieve righteousness, a darkened world becomes illuminated as a function of God's touch. Now imagine if you and I are not achieving righteousness, and that means that the darkened world remains dark because God is not going to bring light into this world, placing it where you and I are. Therefore, you and I are in partnership with God. When you and I bring righteousness into the world, God responds by illuminating a dark place. And we have 3 song sheets tonight. If you look at the first song sheet, it's entitled Craig Taubman, holy ground, and the theme that I wish to highlight again is that light is literally coming into the world, hence this thought of mine, Craig Talman, holy ground.
Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, everything, everyone, every place, every way, where you walk, where you stand, where you love, where you praise, all of life is holy ground. Every he, every she, every what, every who, it's in her, it's in them, it's in me, it's in you. In the bitter, in the sweet, in the calm, in the storm, all of life is holy ground. So walk as if it's holy ground. Breathe as if it's all around. Talk and make a holy sound. Take your shoes off, you're on holy ground. When you hurt, when you heal, when you laugh, when you pray, when you hold, when you keep, when you give it away, every second, every minute, every hour, every day, all of life is holy ground. So walk as if it's holy ground. Breathe as if it's all around. Talk and make a holy sound. We take our shoes off, we're on holy ground. We are one people, one story, one tapestry we weave, one journey, one glory, one legacy we leave. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, everything, everyone, every place, every way, where you walk, where you stand, where you love, where you praise, all of life is holy ground. Can you feel the holy ground? Take your shoes off, you're on holy ground.
If you will, turning to page 21 in the Siddur, page 21 in the prayer book. This psalm came into the Friday evening service about 500 years ago. That's recent in our time. It's a newbie. Probably because the phrase, the voice of God, Kol Adonai, appears 7 times. And the number 7, as you know, is very significant within Jewish tradition. Shabbat, Sabbath, is the 7th day of the week. So perhaps that's why this psalm appealed to the framers of the Friday evening service and it's placed here. And I wish to look at the far left side and the left margin on the English side of page 21. This is a mystical take on the psalm. And so if you will, let's read slowly, where it says, if you will, we're all together now on page number 21 in the left margin. At times we hear the voice of God as thunderous and shattering as at Sinai. At other times we hear the speaking of silence, as Elijah the prophet did when he returned to Sinai. The mystics ascribed specific emotions and feelings to the voices we may hear in accord with the emanation of the divine. And then you see these little stanzas, each one referring to the voice of God, and that phrase, voice of God, is found 7 times here in the Psalm, in the Hebrew and the English. So let's look at the little English stanza at each point underneath the Hebrew phrase. The voice of God opens the gates of compassion and love, chesed, and that's one of the names of our synagogue. So the voice of God opens the gates of love and compassion. And the next meditation, the voice of God opens the gates of courage. The voice of God opens the gates of shining truth. The voice of God opens the gates of endurance and patience. The voice of God opens the gates of splendorous beauty. The voice of God opens the gates of deepest connection. The voice of God opens the gates of presence. And since there are 7 days in the week, and we've now been introduced to 7 little meditations about what does it mean to look for, to seek, to nearly hear the voice of God, we might associate 1 day per week with a different sound from God. Compassion, courage, truth, endurance and patience, beauty, deep connection, presence. And now we're ready. L'Charodi on page 23 and 25, the last two stanzas representing Shabbat herself entering the store. L'Charodi, page 23 and 25. L'Chadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'Chadodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmiyanu el hamayuchad Adonai echad Shemo echad l'shem otif eret v'litila lechad odi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machashava techila lechad odi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabel. 25 yamin usmol tifrotzi v'yet Adonai taritzi al yarish ben partzi v'nismecha v'nagila lechad odi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Bo'i v'shalom ateret bala Gam besimcha uvetzala, toch emunei am segula, boichala, lecha dodi lekrot kala, penei Shabbat nikabelam. You may be seated. And as we turn for a moment to page number 26, we do so because I wish to explain something that thankfully we're not engaged in this evening, at least not directly. When you look at page 26 in the Siddur, which is right after the L'chadodi, you see this phrase, greeting the mourners. And there's been a tradition for many hundreds of years that when a family has left the cemetery and the first Shabbat that they come into a synagogue or a temple, they receive a special greeting. And it's placed here for one or two reasons. One reason is that some people, goes the Jewish sensitive logic, may not feel like singing L'chadodi. He just left the cemetery. And we sing a few songs, and you see the contemporary songs, and generally the opening part of the service is a little bit upbeat. It's supposed to be upbeat, again, for the past 500 years. So if people don't feel like walking in and singing la 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 la, because they just left the cemetery, actually there's a custom that they wait outside. And when they hear that the L'chadodi has concluded, then they'll walk in. That's one of the main reasons. And so that's why it's placed here. And we greet people. And it's striking to me because it reminds us that if we don't pay attention to the people right in front of us, then we really can't be paying attention to the prayers that we're saying. We have to pay attention to each other. And the second point that I wish to mention is here behind us. We have a poster. And this poster came into our synagogue April 24, the first Pesach, the first Passover after October 7, 2023. I think the entire Jewish world was mourning and in grief. And we have a community Seder here at the shul every year, and somebody brought this poster. And it's been in the synagogue since that first Passover, 5, 6, 7 months after October 7th. And as time went by, occasionally we learned that some of our people were gradually coming home. But we also learned that some of our people had died. And some of our people, as you follow the news, were still missing, inexorably until just in January, just 5, 6, 7 weeks ago. So as we learned that people were dying, we started putting up little stickies. And I ran out of pink, and so I used orange. So the color is not significant. But when you look at, and again, this is only a partial list, but when you look at this list and you see how many little flags, sticky notes, are on this as the visual representation of those who were dying and being announced to the world community, they're dying, and they're still missing, they're still uncertain. The toll that it's taking on us visually is only a fraction of the toll it's taking on the families, the neighborhoods, the communities in Israel. Just this past week, the last hostage came home, Ron Gabili. He was buried. We know this. Many of us even paid attention to the news and watched the funeral. So underneath this little piece of paper that says at rest is the word kidnapped. The kidnapping is now over. The sorrow and the anguish will remain for years to come. The trauma is only yet soon to be addressed and processed and grieved by families and neighborhoods and communities. But in a way, at least now, they're all at rest. And that's what I wanted us to notice today. We're not directly saying a comforting message to the mourners because we don't have one specifically in our own community. But one thing that we've learned as human beings, as we stand next to family members and friends and loved ones and neighbors, when there's a loss, we have to be present. We have to pay attention to each other. And again, that's the purpose of that little phrase that you see. So we're now present. We're paying attention to families whom we may never meet, people in Israel and the world who were affected by the enormity of the attack by the Hamas on October 7th. And may there be increasing rest and peace. And we all say, Amen. With that, before we go on to the main service, we turn to the second song sheet. It's called L'Dor Vador. And this is on my mind because I love having our Lubel families here.
We love being here.
We love it when the Lubel family comes here. The Lubel family, I mean, if the Lubel family had been around 3,000 years ago, the L'Dor Vador would have been written in honor of the Lubel family and a few other families, right? So God bless. We have a Lubel family here, and this is, I'm losing track, 63. What a great number. I love it. I love it. 63. The next lottery ticket you find in some other city or community, go for 63. It's a great number. So God bless. We have the Lubels for many generations. We're probably at maybe the 5th generation by now. Six, any babies? Seven. We're 7th generation. Amen. So we know how dramatic it is to look into the future and the past simultaneously. That's what L'Dor Vador means, from one generation to the next. And we're dwelling within time as we look in and we hug and embrace, and the family comes together, and then at the hotel, and is it ping pong or bowling? I'm losing track. What happens tomorrow? Bowling. Okay, so all that's L'Dor Vador, and this song comes to us from a contemporary Jewish singer. His name is Josh Nelson, L'Dor Vador.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are His story in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. L'Dor Vador, Nagid God Lecha. L'Dor Vador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation, L'Dor Vador, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our hearts, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. L'Dor Vador, Nagid God Lecha. L'Dor Vador, we protect this chain. From generation to generation, L'Dor Vador, these lips will praise vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. The dor vador, these lips will praise your name.
We rise in the Siddur, the Borchu, page 39a. The Borchu for which we rise, page 39a. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach olam voed. And we are seated. The first bracha on the English side, page 39a, first bracha before the Shema, talking about appreciating light. It's much more than light. Light is energy. And the universe was changed because according to the Torah, God brought forth a voice. That's energy. And one form of energy commanded a new reality, controlled energy. And energy is only a micro flick of the fingers away from matter. That's what Baruch Hu is telling us. Pay attention to the world in terms of energy and matter, light and substance. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings dusk. El Chai V'Kayam, Tamidim L'Chalein Olam Voed. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. And looking at the top of page number 40, you see this title, the second bracha before the Shema, Torah and God's love. Torah means caring enough that there are constraints. Morality, legal, social, judicial, familial, communal. All these are vehicles for conveying the importance of love between each other and a greater sense of community. The Siddur is constructed in a very particular and deliberate way. The first, light, substance, the physical reality. The second, love and law must permeate physical reality. On page 40, it's in the middle of the left margin. It's the last two stanzas at the circus in Bless Me, on the English side. At the circus, I saw a man tame a tiger, defang a snake. Would you make me so skilled? Bless me with patience. Make me strong as steel, that I might demonstrate to humanity same as love and boundedness and responsibility. V'avotochal tasir mimenu li'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. The Shema on page 41. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kol Malchut Olam Va'ed. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol mi'adecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartabam b'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha v'aderech u'v'shachbecha v'kumecha u'kishartam liot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha. Perhaps considering some of the commentary and or the second passage of the Shema on page 42, just a few moments of silence. Adonai Elohechem emet. On page number 44, this is an introduction to the Mi Chamocha. And this is on my mind because just in last week's Torah reading, as you know, we read Torah every single week, our ancestors crossed through the sea. And they've been schlepping and approaching, and I'm not sure exactly when. A few hours ago, yesterday, maybe early this morning, they arrived at Mount Sinai. And by the way, tomorrow is the Big Ten. So that's in our annual cycle. And because it's such a dramatic presentation of thought that leaving slavery, which is a transformation of the human condition, is necessary for the opening of the mind and the heart to law and justice. Mi Chamocha is here every single day, every single morning, and every single night. We have to be free in order to move forward into the everyday, every morning and every night. I think that's what Mi Chamocha represents. Side note, if you look at page 44, whether on the top of the Hebrew or the English, the first line, second line says, Moshe u Miriam, Moses and Miriam. And this is striking because, as I mentioned occasionally, this modern conservative Siddur, printed about 6 years ago, now adds the name Miriam. And in prior traditional Siddurim, only the name Moses for the past 1,000, 1,500 years has been included. We need to hear the voices of our women. So on the English side, starting with Umalchuto, and then English and Hebrew on page 44. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu alehem Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael lecha anu shira b'simcha rabah v'yamru chulam. Who is like you, Adonai, among the mighty? Who is like you, adorned in holiness, revered in praise, working wonders? Mi chamocha bo'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh noratilot ol sefelem. Your children recognized your sovereignty as you split the sea before Moses. This is my God, they responded and said, Adonai will reign forever and ever. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokeh yam lifnei Moshe ze'eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. And so it is written, Adonai has rescued Jacob and redeemed him from the hand of those more powerful than he. Baruch atah Adonai, who redeemed the people Israel. And now, if you will, we turn to the last song sheet. It's entitled Debbie Friedman, and there are 3 different songs. But tonight we're looking at Miriam's song, which for me is an exceptional piece. I remember hearing Debbie Friedman, Zichron Livracha, when she first sang this perhaps 40 years ago. We were at a small concert arranged for rabbinical students. At the time I was in Los Angeles, and it has remained in my heart ever since. And again, this is symbolically associated with crossing the sea. And in the Torah, which we read last week, we have the phrase that Moses sang and also Miriam sang. And this piece here on the song sheet is a contemporary modern, you might say, embellishment or extension of a very small piece that Miriam sang in the Torah. So if you will, Miriam's song.
And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long.
Page 46. Following Miriam. V'shamro b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam b'nei uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam oti le'olam oti le'olam v'shamro b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et haaretz v'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbav v'chayechon v'yom echon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael bagala uv'isman kariv v'imero amen Yehi shemei rabba mevarach le'alam Yol Meil Maya Yit Barach V'Ishtabach V'Itparv V'Naseh V'Hadar V'Halal Shemei Dekudesh Abrichu Le'elam Kol Berchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechemata Da'amiran B'Yalma V'Imiru Amen. Before we rise, turn to page 47, please, looking at the English side. This is the Amida, which is the main prayer, and we recite this every single day of the year, 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. And sometimes there are a little bit of an adjustments because whether it's the daily service or Shabbat or Jewish holidays. But it always starts the same way. And you've just glanced at the English translation, you see God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, which is the ancient form, has been around for 2,000 years. Or about 20, 30 years ago, we began to, in some areas of Jewish life, adjust the service, this key prayer, and we began to include the matriarchs, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. And what I wish to bring to our mind, maybe on your mind already, is that the doorway into the most significant of all Jewish organized prayer is an awareness of Lador Vador, from generation to generation. That's how we start our private, personal conversation with the one and only, the energy that drives the universe and beyond. The traditional form for 2,000 years is, I'm connected to my own immediate family. So tonight, as we rise in just a few moments, allow yourself to ask, in which way did my immediate ancestors or my longer ago ancestors influence me within the framework of Jewish life, tradition, religious identity, religious values, whatever it might be? Because you're starting your prayer based upon being connected to your ancestors. And the next question is, if we're so blessed, some of us already in our own lives are ancestors. And now ask yourselves, what does it mean to be an ancestor? Because descendants are looking to you for your stamp, your touch on their lives, generations yet to be. We rise the traditional text, page 47 through 52, or a few moments of silent, private meditation and prayer. Tonight is a very special night because we got our Lubels here. And as the years go by, I find myself looking more and more forward to the Lubel family reunion. I didn't have the pleasure of meeting Harris and Annie, but I remember some of their kids. And now I've had over the years the chance to get to know some of their grandkids and great-grands, and the years are going forward. And again, it speaks volumes that many family reunions are held at resorts or on cruise ships. Lubel family comes to a shoal. Yes, it's the bowling, which is important, and the Saturday night dinner, which is good, and they also come to a cemetery. And That's why the sentiment of L'Ador V'Dor is so significant and so powerful and so transformative. And the whole world should be paying attention. And if it weren't for the opening ceremony of the Olympics, the whole world would be paying attention. But the world is looking at the opening ceremonies, and gosh, these are the best athletes from all over the world. They've been training for years and years, and you know the hoopla and the spectacle and the grandeur that's happening tonight in just a little while. Later, I'll sneak home and I'll glance at hopefully some of the opening ceremonies if I can, because it takes hold of my heart that people are so devoted to spend years of their lives and put everything else on hold to compete, to achieve, to excel. Those are laudatory pursuits. And I'm pretty sure that many of us have our favorite athletes that we kind of follow and teams. And I always keep an eye out for Israel. Did you know that this year Israel is bringing a bobsled team to the Olympics? We'd say roll tide if it worked. Israel is bringing a bobsled team to the Olympics. And if you visit Israel, or if you're familiar with Israel, you have to know that there are very low hills, very low mountains. The highest hills and mountains in Israel are 2,000 to 3,000 feet. And most of them are occupied with either dirt, rock, some trees, vineyards, olive trees, wine, grapes, but there's not a lot of snow. And it's nothing like the conditions of the alpine climates that you and I experience when we think about, Switzerland or France or Italy. Those are the climates that give birth to bobsledding. So this is a man, his name is A.J. Edelman. He's from Brookline, Massachusetts, moved to Israel, American-Israeli. And he fielded a team, and they sought to compete, and they, I guess, applied, you might say, or they competed 4 years ago, and they missed it by 1/10 of a second. And they didn't qualify 4 years ago. They qualified this year. And there are 5 total, but 4 plus 1, 4 people on the Israeli bobsled team. A.J. Edelman is described as the first Orthodox Jew to compete in a Winter Olympics game. And there are 2 other men whose name I didn't catch. And the other name that stands out is Ward Farwase, who's a Druze. D-R-U-Z-E, Druze. I'm not going to get into the whole background, but again, the first Druze Olympian ever. A Druze fielded on an Israeli team. And if this doesn't send your heart pounding, I don't know what will. Such pride. These people are literally competing against, on a serious side, so much resentment and resistance throughout the world. They've been training alternatingly in New York, in Canada for the past number of months. They are now in Cortina, and they are ready to proceed whenever the competition comes forth. And you can only imagine what kind of resistance they've experienced, what kind of antipathy and antagonism. And yet this tiny country that by rights shouldn't be competing in a bobsled event is going to. And I'm thrilled to pieces. And that they bring, along with an Orthodox Jew, a Druze into the mix tells you a lot about the values of that tiny little country, which I have to remind you is 20% the landmass of the state of Alabama. Such pluck and such determination and such pride. And as they're about to compete, Yael Arad, the chair of the Israeli Olympic team, said to them as they were leaving Israel, quote, "Lech l'shalom, go in peace. Return home in peace. you are representing Israel. Every time you wave the Israeli flag, do so in the name of those who dreamed to be Olympians and did not arrive, those in our hearts forever. That was the send-off from Israel, those in our hearts forever. And that's the inoculation. That's the vaccination against the, in too many places to experience, antagonism and antipathy and hostility being brought to bear, because every member of that Israeli team, and now you and me, because we're sisters and brothers to the Israeli team, every one of us knows that we have a light in our heart, and it's not only our light in our heart, but it's all those who came before, those who couldn't be where you and I are in our lives today. Not every one of us is going to be an Olympian, but every one of us lives as a Jewish person within our community, within our family, within our lineage, and we have to hear that same send-off that Yael Arad said, and again, it's in my heart. Every time he said you wave the Israeli flag, I say every time you and I take a breath as a member of a Jewish family and community, do so in the name of those who dreamed to be and those who are no longer here. One final thought. His mother said to him as she heard of this, AJ, is it safe for you to compete? You'll be having a Magen David, a Magen David, a Star of David, on your uniform, on your front or on your back. And he said, Mom, what else can we do? It's what we do. And that's the message not only from a young athlete to his mother, but it's the message from a young athlete to all of us. It's who we are. It's what we do. We stand up and we walk forward because we have that light in our heart, knowing that we are here at this moment because there are others who can't be. Look at the power that you and I have in our daily experience to represent not only ourselves, but our entire community. And Halavai, won't it be grand if indeed the Israeli bobsled team wins the medal? Halavai. We have to keep our eyes on the open. There are 3 skiers, 1 figure skater, and 1 skeleton athlete, along with the 4 bobsledders in this Olympic. Okay, a figure skater, 3 skiers, and a skeleton. That's the scary one. That's like a luge, only smaller. It's called a skeleton. It's smaller than a luge. There's nothing between you and ice and 90 miles an hour. That's a skeleton, hence the name. So may we all experience Israeli achievement. Shabbos. We rise. The Aleinu is on page 56. Page 56. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol latet gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kgoye aratzot velo samanu kemishpachot adama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשבת אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. And now in a moment on page 58, the Kaddish. And some within our community might choose to remain standing if they're saying Kaddish for a family member, and some might choose to be seated at this moment. If so, feel free to be seated, whatever your practice is. On this Shabbat, we remember with great love Anna Friedman, Milton Berman, Joseph Brooke, Bert Meisler, Milton Briskman, Bertha Maisel, Molly Gross, Mayor Davidoff, Harry Wexler, Shirley Sibley, Mary Kellman, Kim Olinsky, Juliette Oken, Dave Dunitz, Ann Mishevsky, Abe Friedman, Kerry Grodsky, Edward Morningstar, Anna Maisel, Melvin Lichtenfeld, Stanley Maisel, Irving Rips, Samuel Weinstein. Remember Annie Jacobs Lubell, Harris Lubell. Are there any other names to mention this evening? Jerry Marshak. Perhaps somebody at home has a name to share as well. And we're also remembering all those whose lives were stolen from all of us when Hamas attacked. Kaddish is on page number 58. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabo, amen. Be'olma divorach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chaye echon u'v'yom echon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'zaman kariv v'yimeru, amen. Yehei Shemei Rabo Mivorach Lo'olam Ololmei Olmaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shemei Dekudasha B'rechu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Da'amiran ba'olma v'meru, amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru, amen. Oseh shalom b'meromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru, amen. And we're seated. I want you to think about the Kaddish in a slightly different way. For 1,800 years, we've been saying it because it's the tradition. Of course, we do. It's the tradition talking about our loved ones, our family members, when somebody dies. But I want you instead, in your mind's eye, in your mind's ear, to hear the Kaddish as if it's coming from somebody you love, who's dead, who's gone. And you have to remember that every word of the Kaddish talks about hope, faith, and peace. Not loss, not sorrow, no mention of tears, no mention of grief. Every word of the Kaddish talks about hope and faith and peace. And the Yehei Shlomo line, which is the official conclusion, talks about peace, and then the Aseh Shalom line comes along and reiterates it in Hebrew to emphasize it. In a way, it's doubled. Imagine your loved one saying, I love you, farewell, hope and peace. What a powerful message that is. And tonight, that's how we're concluding the service. And then we'll have Kiddush and Hamotzi. But I want us to sing back to our ancestors, and you all know this. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Hey, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, hey, yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Good Shabbos. Rise for Kiddush. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. We're thrilled to have our Lubels here. To all of you joining in at home, we hope to see you in the near future. May God bless you. You're part of our hearts. You're in our hearts with love, with hope. May you have shalom until we see each other. Good Shabbos.